nicely braised. The meat is braised perfectly. It's nice and tender. It's got that natural sweetness from the coconut water. You can really taste the garlic, fish sauce, and the oyster sauce. It's got a nice blend of salty and sweet. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Eat Saigon. I'm Vanessa, and today we are going to be making a very classic dish, and that is seung rim. And in English, that translates to pork ribs that we're going to braise, and we're going to make a side dish of soup made with mustard greens. Now, seung rim is a favorite of mine. Growing up, I loved anything that was meat-based. So whether it was something like tekao, seung rim, it has a really nice, salty, sweet, savory taste. And it's a classic amongst every Vietnamese household. So once we're done with everything, we're going to sit down, have a nice bowl of soup, some vegetables, seung rim, and a bowl of white rice, and we're going to enjoy that together. For the seung rim, I have here about ½ pound of pork ribs. This here is ground pork, and this is what we're going to be using for the soup. Of course, garlic. If you've watched previous episodes of Eat Saigon, you see that I always use garlic. I think it brings out flavors in just about anything and everything. So every time I cook, I have minced garlic on hand. Of course, salt and pepper. This here, fish sauce. This is oyster sauce, coconut water. So this will have a natural sweetness that is going to be used within the seung rim. It's going to braise very nicely within that. Mushroom seasoning. So this here is actually going to go into the broth. And then of course, last but not least, we're going to have vegetable oil. So let's get started with the seung rim. Okay, so it looks like our pan is just about hot. Now we're going to add the vegetable oil. We want to add a generous amount, so maybe about 2 tablespoons will work. We're going to add the garlic. And believe it or not, I actually didn't like garlic growing up. I hated onions, I hated garlic, hated vegetables, but now I pretty much eat that with everything. So the irony of that. And it just goes to show that, you know, when you're young, growing up, you have different things that you like, and then as you get older, flavors change for you, your palate changes. So I always say never when it comes to food. So now we're going to add in the seung rim. So we're going to get the meat nice and golden brown, and then we'll start to add in the oyster sauce and the nước mắm. And then I'm actually going to take it off this stove top and bring it over to the kitchen, and then we'll start on the broth and come back to the seung rim. Okay, here's the nước mắm, also known as fish sauce. So I'm going to add in a generous amount too, about 2 tablespoons there. Ooh. And I'm going to add in the oyster sauce. A lot of the ingredients that you see with the seung rim is actually very similar to tekao, which is another favorite of mine, and you'll also see that in another episode of Eat Saigon. I will show you how to make tekao trứng. You want to have the heat on medium. You don't want to have it on high, because we're actually going to put this onto the stovetop in the kitchen and have it on low for about 15 to 20 minutes so that it's got a nice braise, so that it's nicely braised. I'm going to add in a little bit of pepper in here. Everything smells really great. You can smell the garlic, you can smell the oyster sauce, the fish sauce. It's not too strong. All of the aromatics just really blend together and it just smells so nice. Every time I cook this, everybody just loves the smell of it and they can't wait for it to be finished. So I can't wait to eat this and share with you guys. Okay, so you can see that the meat is starting to brown very nicely. So now at this point, I am actually going to put a little bit of the coconut water in here. So you can use coconut water, you can use Coco Rico soda, which is more commonly found in Asian supermarkets. It's really up to you. I like coconut water because it's got the natural sweetness. So I am actually now going to take this off this stovetop, bring it over to the kitchen. We're gonna let that marinate and braise for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then we'll get started with the soup, and then we'll bring the meat back over here, and you can see how everything looks really beautiful. I am going to start on the mustard greens. I'm going to cut the stems right about here, and I'm going to blanch them, get them boiled, and then we're going to take it out, and then we're going to use the remaining part, which is the leafy part. Then we're going to save this, and this will go back into the soup later. So I'm going to just throw in a little bit of salt. So we're going to let that sit just for a few minutes until it starts to boil. While that is boiling, I'm actually going to start chopping up the greens here. Okay, so it looks like the vegetables are just about done. They're nicely boiled. That took about 4 to 5 minutes on high heat. And I can smell the braised sung rim over there. It smells amazing. I wish you guys could smell it, honestly. Okay, so the water is boiling. It's on high heat. Now we're going to add in the mushroom seasoning. And you may ask, how do I know how many tablespoons is what? It just takes years of cooking. Like, I've learned to eyeball things. Even when people try to ask me how my recipes are, it's been really hard in the past to define, okay, it's 2 tablespoons this, it's 1 tablespoon that. Because usually I just throw it in, but over the years I've just learned to know, okay, this is how much this should go in here, this is how much should go in there. Okay, so I am actually going to take this off the heat now. You can see that the greens are nicely cooked through. I'm going to put this right here, and I'm actually going to stir fry the ground pork, then throw that back in there, so it's going to have a really nice taste to everything. So we're going to add a little bit of vegetable oil, maybe about 1 tablespoon, not too much. You don't have to declump the meat entirely, just a little bit. You kind of want them to be almost like meatball shapes, but not firm meatballs. And you can either add salt, but I like to add just a little bit of fish sauce into the ground pork. This was such a favorite dish for me growing up. When I was sick, my mom would try to feed me, and whether you're a child or an adult, as you know, when you're sick, you just don't have the appetite. So my mom tried to find different ways to make sure that I ate, and obviously soup was always a good remedy for any sickness. So my mom would add in meat into the soup and have that with a bowl of rice, and it was so, so yummy. So every time I eat this, it just reminds me of those days when I was sick. A fond, but also not so fond memory. Who likes being sick? I'm going to add just a little bit of pepper into here. Give it that nice peppery taste. Looks just about done. All the pinkness is out of there, and we're going to throw it into the pot of soup. All right, then we're going to bring this pot back over here. Let that cook for about another 2 minutes. Soup's already done, the vegetables are done, the meat is about 95% done. We just want all of the flavors to blend together. The mustard greens already have a nice earthy flavor to it. It's gonna soak in with the broth, the mushroom seasoning, the ground pork. It's gonna taste really amazing. And then don't forget, we've also got the stems from the mustard greens as well. It's a nice complement because you've got your broth as a palate cleanser for the seungrim, and then the vegetables, which are just simple, they're just boiled, they're as is. It just really finishes off everything nicely. All right, so it looks like the soup is just about done. So I'm going to take this off the stove top. I'm going to then bring the seungrim over. It's about done as well. It's been about 15 to 20 minutes already. All right, everyone, so it looks like seungrim is just about finished. It's got that nice golden brown flavor to it, that look to it. I put in a red chili pepper. I snuck that in. So now we're going to put this onto the plate, get a nice bowl of white rice, and enjoy this together. Everybody, so now that the food is all done, let's sit down and enjoy it together. So here we have the seungrim, which is nicely braised. It's been cooking on the stove for about 20 to 25 minutes. It's got that nice golden glaze to it. It smells amazing. And we've got the mustard greens, which I've gone ahead and chopped up the stems. Just blanch that and put that to the side. It's a simple dish because we want to have it all balanced out with the soup that we have here. So let's go ahead and dig in. The meat is braised perfectly. It's nice and tender. It's got that natural sweetness from the coconut water. You can really taste the garlic, fish sauce, and the oyster sauce. It's got to down and enjoy dinner together. All right, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Eat Saigon. Once again, do not forget to like, to share, tell everyone about this channel, and more importantly, leave your comments. I want to know how you make your seungrim. Is there another way that you add some sweetness to it, to caramelize it? Is there another soup that you have with your proteins? Or is there another vegetable that you typically cook when you sit down and eat your rice? I'd love to hear all about it. And I will see you again next time. Thank you. Bye.